makeup fiends, and welcome to 13 Days of Horror. It's upon us again. It is October and it is only 13 days to Halloween. I'm really excited. You know that one of my favourite times of the year is Halloween. I love all things horror and all things scary. So, welcome to my chop shop. I've got various different backgrounds and things that you may see appear throughout this week. And today I'm going to do a tag. Now, last year I created a tag called the horror movie tag, and this year I have created the horror movie tag, the sequel. Because, you know, there are some pretty good horror sequels out there, so I thought, why not have a tag? Sequel version. So, I thought of 13 new questions to challenge you, and I hope lots of people will do this. And if you do this, please let me know that you've done it, and just drop me a message or a comment below, and I will head over and watch yours too. The first question is, which horror film creeped you out the most, or which horror character creeped you out the most? So for me, the character that's always creeped me out the most, I've got two, one from a series and one from a film. The first one is Reverend Zane from Poltergeist 2. I don't know what it is about him, he's just really, really creepy, and whenever I see him, you know, you get that shudder, like somebody's walked over your grave. I really hate it. I just don't like him at all. He just really spooks me out. So I don't like him. And it's really quite weird because he's not really particularly, like, it's not like he's gruesome or anything, it's just that he has, even before he speaks, he has quite a creepy sort of appearance to him. Yeah, so I don't like him. And then from a series that I absolutely love and I've watched a number of times, and it's from Twin Peaks, and it's Bob. Now, I absolutely love Twin Peaks. When it first showed, I watched every single episode. I absolutely loved the show. I thought it was amazing. But Bob always creeped me out. I just remember this one time when I was like sitting in my bedroom watching it in the dark, and then there's this bit where Bob sort of appears from behind the settee and climbs over it and comes towards you in the TV screen, and it's just, yeah. But it's like these people kind of good creep me out in the fact that they creep me out, but I just have to watch it anyway, if you know what I mean. So yeah, they're two characters that definitely stick out for me there. Name some of your favourite horror moments. There are so many of these, it's so difficult to name just a few. I guess for me, I love the moment in Saw where at the end, the body in the middle, he just gets up and he just kind of walks out. I really love the fact that all that time they were there going through all this stuff and he was right there in the room. I think that's really creepy. I think it's a really ingenious sort of idea. So I love that. In Nightmare on Elm Street, I love the bit where he's chasing Tina and she screams at him, and I'll not say it because that's coming up, but he kind of cuts his finger off and he says this amazing line, and it's fantastic. I love that bit, but I love anything to do with Nightmare on Elm Street. There are some fantastic moments in Nightmare on Elm Street, and particularly the kill moments, I guess, but sometimes Freddy borders on that kind of horrific but kind of amusing in a way. He just has that kind of character about him, so he's incredibly watchable. Scream, I have so many moments. You know, Scream is my ultimate favourite movie of all time, not just my favourite horror. So there are lots of moments within Scream, particularly the first one, I would say, more than the others. I still love the other films, but for me, in the first one, the whole opening sequence is just fantastic. That was quite a groundbreaking sort of idea at that time, that the main star of the movie, who is the most well known, she died in the first 5-10 minutes, and that was quite a big thing. And I really like that whole conversation and the whole concept of that, so I love the opening sequence of Scream. And I remember at the time when it was released, everybody was saying if you make it through the first 5 minutes, then you'll manage the rest of the film, and that kind of sticks out to me. I also love Linda Blair's cameo in that film as a reporter. I thought that was really quite a nice touch, but I just love the whole sort of, there's lots of great lines in that movie. The script is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so I'll not go on too much about Scream because you know I love it. The bit also in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, it's kind of sort of gets started, but there is a bit in that where at the end the girl jumps through the window to escape, and this is a bit I kind of love to hate. Sorry, I think the camera got scared there. Okay, so another moment is from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's a bit at the end where the girl tries to escape. She jumps through the window and he jumps out after her with the chainsaw and runs after her. And the reason why that is so creepy and kind of creeps me out is because he is so fast. Now I like the when somebody's slower, like Freddy just toddles along behind you, or Michael Myers, it's you know, you're excited, but you know, they might get away. But when it's somebody really fast, it's really scary, because it kind of puts me in their place. I kind of put myself in that victim's place, and to be chased by somebody so fast, oh, it's just, yeah, that's quite frightening. So that's kind of one of my love to hate type of moments. I love that bit. There are so many amazing moments in horror. There's just too many to talk about, but that's definitely a few of my favourites anyway. Name some of your favourite horror movie quotes. I have a lot. I sat and wrote them down. There's far too many for me to kind of go through, but I'll read a couple of it out for you. I put the Friday the 13th one down. I've seen enough horror movies to know that any weirdo wearing a mask is not friendly. I like that one. From Nightmare on Elm Street, Nancy, no running in the hallways. Just simple lines sometimes are just really effective. Like in The Shining, here's Johnny. Or in Poltergeist, they're here. Just really quite creepy, very, very simple sort of lines. They're really great. There's so many lines in Scream because it is incredibly good script. Probably one of the best ones is Sydney. You know, when she's talking about horror films with Randy, and she says, you know, I don't like that shit. It's some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting. That's one of my favourite lines. It's the millennium, motives are incidental. We all go a little mad sometimes, which is also originally from Psycho, and Billy quotes that from Psycho. If you were the only suspect in a senseless bloodbath, would you be standing in the horror section? I like that line. Movies make psychos more creative. I really, really love that line. That's a good one. I've just got so many. I love a bit in Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the bit I was talking about before, where Tina says, "Oh God," and Freddy puts his hand up and cuts his finger off, and he said, "This is God." It's just an awesome line. Like I said, sometimes it's just the simplest of things that people say. And I have the worst line ever, which I cringe every time I hear it. And this is actually in my favourite horror series, and it's from Scream 4. And he says, "I'm going to slit your eyelids in half so you can't blink when I stab you in the face." I hate that line with a passion. I hate it. It's just a really bad line. I don't know. It's like, oh. When I know that line's coming up, I'm like, oh no, don't say the line. Also, from Nightmare on Elm Street, who can forget the Freddy song, which is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5, 6, grab your crucifix. 7, 8, gonna stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep again. Now the reason I paused there is like 3, 4, better lock your door. I don't really know what difference that's gonna make since he comes in your dreams, but you know, never mind. One night only, you could be any horror villain. Who would you be? I've said Freddy. Even though I love Ghostface, I like Freddy's humour. And I like that anything you can do, absolutely anything is possible. He stretches his arms to 10 foot long, he just appears here and there, and he's a dream manipulator, and I quite like that concept. I wrote a story when I was younger about somebody who did very much the same thing. So I really like that he kind of stalks people in their dreams. That's when you're at your most vulnerable, and basically anything can happen in dreams. So I really like that idea, because it makes what happens in Freddy kind of believable in a way, because anything can happen in a dream, so nothing is kind of too far out there. So I really like that, so I would be Freddy. Which horror film do you think is the worst? And which horror movies just didn't cut it? So I have put here, I've got a controversial one, but I've got one that a lot of people kind of think the same, which is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. It's just, there's nothing much to be said about that other than it is really rubbish, and I got mine from Poundland, so that kind of says it all. I don't think it sells particularly well. It's just, yeah, it's totally kind of offbeat from the rest of the series, and it's just not a very good story. It kind of feels like they kind of wanted to capitalise on what was going on with the Halloween films and, you know, make money on it, but it just was really a bad script and, yeah, a bad idea. So I don't like that one. I also don't like Jeepers Creepers. I actually was quite enjoying the movie until I got to the end, and I didn't enjoy that. I didn't like the villain, I didn't like the twist. So it's a shame when you kind of watch a film and then you get to the end and the twist is just not good. Really don't like that at all. So yeah. And I've also put down, and this is probably going to be controversial, I've got two controversial ones. One being okay, one of my controversial ones would be The Evil Dead. I saw that for the first time recently. The story is kind of okay, but there just are a lot of things in it that are totally unbelievable. That, you know, what these people do, it's just beyond belief. It's beyond what you would do when you're scared. It's just a bit out there. And also just the makeup effects, how it changes from literally 1 second to the next. Like, they've forgotten where things went, where the blood was, what the makeup was like, and it's one of those films that are kind of like bad horror movies that you have to watch. I wouldn't watch it again. I thought that it was going to be a lot better. I heard that it was really very scary and really horrible. I didn't actually think that. I just didn't really enjoy it, and I was quite surprised because it had been so hyped up and I'd wanted to see it for a long time. I just thought the continuity was really bad. Yeah, and just some of the scenes were just bordering on ridiculous. And then the other one, which is also a little controversial, is what Rob Zombie did to the Halloween series when he recreated it. I don't like what he did. I didn't like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I felt like there was a lot of swearing put in there for the sake of it. I didn't like that it just wasn't necessary. It wasn't present in the first one, and just because it's nowadays and swearing is more out there and more, you do hear it more, doesn't mean that it has to be in the film. I also didn't like what they did to Michael's story. I felt like we know Michael's story and we didn't need to take it anywhere else or do anything different with it or push it anywhere else. And he just made him quite frenzied, really. Michael Myers has never come across that like that. In original films, he is just very kind of stone cold killer, but he's incredibly calm with it. It's like he has no emotion and no feeling, and I felt like he was a bit more frenzied in the Rob Zombie versions. I do own them. I'm a huge Halloween fan, so I do have them, but I didn't enjoy them. I didn't like what he did with it, so I would have to say that those films were among my least favourite. Slow walking, stalking horror villain or fast? This is slow for me. I've just kind of explained that. I hate the fast ones because you can just imagine yourself in the same position being chased. Wouldn't you rather have Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees just stomping along behind you rather than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface just running at you? It just, you know, I guess in a way that Texas Chainsaw with a chase, it kind of got you really excited and kind of on the edge of your seat, but I just, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the whole fast chasing thing. I also kind of want my victim to get away as well. It's quite nice to have a victim that survives. And I don't like it when they don't, which is kind of why I didn't like, I don't know if anybody's seen Eden, I think it's called Eden Lake. No. I like a survivor. I think we all like that, don't we? We like to have that surviving character. I think it's quite nice. What is your favourite genre within the genre? So my favourite genre within the genre is definitely teen horror. I love teen horror, like Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, huge blue bottle there, Friday the 13th, all those kinds of lovely cheesy 80s horror films like April Fool's Day, Prom Night, Hell Night, all that kind of stuff. I love teen horror, so that's definitely my favourite genre within the genre. Scary house, spooky cemetery, or demented fairground, or any other location that you can think of. What is your favourite location for a horror film? I have to say Scary House. I really love those kind of films. I love Hell Night, it's one of my all-time favourites, but I love The Unnameable and The Unnameable Returns. I just like anything with a scary house in it. I really love the idea of the staying in the scary house or having to stay in the scary house and then what happens from there. Another one is kind of The Haunted Mansion, which I know is a children's film, it's a Disney film, but I love that as well. I just love like the idea of scary houses, ghostly houses. I would love to live in a really, really old property. This is an old house, this is over 100 years old, but I definitely love to live in like a really big spooky house. I love spooky houses. So I really like that, and the whole teen horror thing kind of fits in with that because it's my favourite genre within the genre. and just kind of the running around scared, things jumping out and all that kind of stuff. But if you haven't seen Hell Night, you should definitely check that out because that is a fantastic film. Is, do you read horror books, and if you do, who do you read? I only read one horror author, and that is Richard Lehman. I did a video on him last year and I'll put the link to that video in the information bar below. I love Richard Lehman's writing. He's very fast and punchy and quick, and he's graphic without being too graphic. He makes things, you can see them. He's a very good writer. The descriptions are fantastic because it totally comes into your mind. I have tried Stephen King, which I couldn't get away with. I've tried several of his books now and I just can't do it. I haven't tried James Herbert, but I will do. But my husband Alex says I write like him, so I definitely need to check him out. And I have actually read Sean Hudson. I read, I think is it Slugs? I think it's Slugs. Yeah, I read that one. But it didn't make me want to read more, whereas with Richard Lehman I picked up a double book. It was 2 books in one when I was out shopping one day, and then I was hooked, and I've got a shelf full of them now. So he's one of those writers, as soon as I read his work it was like, yeah, I want to read more, and I love his book come out. And I have actually read Sean Hudson. I read, I think is it Slugs? I think it's Slugs. Yeah, I read that one. But it didn't make me want to read more, whereas with Richard Lehman I picked up a double book. It was 2 books in one when I was out shopping one day, and then I was hooked, and I've got a shelf full of them now. So he's one of those writers, as soon as I read his work it was like, yeah, I want to read more, and I love his books. I love that they tend to go down the teen sort of scary spooky type of thing rather than go into things that are just way too out there. A couple of his books are a little more out there, like I think it's Amara, which is about a vampire. Oh, a mummy, yeah, something like that. I haven't read that one yet. Not quite so much interested in me, whereas like the whole sort of things that could happen and sort of teen horror, that definitely is something that interests me, so I love Richard Lehman. Which horror film did you love till you got to the end? That has to be, I've got 2. Jeepers Creepers, which I've already said because I was really quite enjoying the film itself, and then I got to the end, found out who the villain was and kind of why and the whole thing, and I didn't enjoy that. I didn't like it. I didn't like the villain, I didn't like where the story went from there, so that kind of disappointed me. And the other one is Cabin in the Woods. Now that's not a bad film, and I don't like when it twists and it goes somewhere at the end. I didn't like it. I didn't like how it ended because I do like my Survivor, and I won't spoil it for anybody, but right in the last couple of seconds something happens and it's just like, no, I don't believe that. And I didn't like the whole concept of the end, of why these things had happened and why they were there, without giving too much away. But the one thing I did like about the end was the bit where they went down in the elevator and they had all of these creatures and scary characters in glass boxes. I loved that. What an amazing idea. Could definitely use that in another concept. In fact, that totally reminded me of 13 Ghosts, which is one of my all-time favourite films. So yeah, I didn't like the way it went at the end, why they were there, and what actually happened at the end. I thought it was really quite disappointing, even though the film itself was actually pretty decent. What was the first horror film you saw, and how old were you? So I want to say the first horror film I ever saw was Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was about 9, 10. I've always been intrigued with that kind of thing. When I was younger I used to read Misty, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but I picked up old annuals and magazines at car boot fairs and jumble sales, and do people do jumble sales these days? I love jumble sales. Anyway, I picked them up there and I read them and loved them, and they were kind of spooky and scary and aimed at children, so not too scary, but aimed at like sort of teens, I guess, older children. And I really, really loved them, and that kind of got me interested in the whole horror thing, which is my dark side, as my dad says. And then I saw one night Nightmare on Elm Street was on, and I had a video recorder and TV in my room. I remember those video recorders, and I taped it. It was on late at night. I wasn't really allowed to watch that kind of stuff, but I taped it and I watched it and just loved it. It was an obsession for many years, and even when I was at college I used to watch it, and I used to come in from college when nobody was home, put it on, black coffee, sit at my desk and watch it, and just felt quite grown up. Nightmare on Elm Street was my first film, and I still love it. I still watch it, but it's on. My daughter scares me more than horror films do, apparently. What horror film are you in the mood for right now? Well, I'm always in the mood for Scream. I know people are probably sick of me going on about it, but it is my favourite film, and it's my favourite film of all time, and my favourite horror, and I never get sick of it. And if I'm sitting doing something and like in the bedroom reading or writing or editing a video and I don't know what to watch or there's nothing on, I will put Scream on. I have seen it literally hundreds of times and I never get sick of it. It's the most amazing film ever. So there you go, Scream. Name your 13 favourite horror films, because at the end of the last one I think I said name your 13 favourite horror characters. I'll make it a little bit easier. So for me, Scream of course is there, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, because I just love Halloween, it's just one of my favourite films. 13 Ghosts, I love that, and that is, I think there's an original but this is the remake. House on Haunted Hill, the remake, which I just watched the other day. I've watched it twice in 1 week now. I love that. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I like the first one, I much prefer the sequel, and it's got an early appearance from Jack Black in there. But yeah, I love that one. And Brandy's in it, and it's got a lot more atmosphere, and it's just scarier than the first one. Saw, because I think the concept of the original Saw is something that was incredibly different, and it took the horror genre somewhere else, and it did take it somewhere more violent, but I loved the story of that one and the whole thing at the end where it kind of got up. And yeah, just a fantastic film. So Hatchet 2. I love Hatchet, great film. Hatchet 2, so much better. It's got some good old classic horror villains in there making some appearances, so definitely check that one out. That is just, oh, it's an amazing film, and some of the deaths are just like, really? Really? What? What? Some of them are totally crazy, but they're just really, really good. There's a particularly good one with a chainsaw, which is just wow. There are some really, really creative deaths in that film, which is really, really good. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. One of my all-time. Now it is quite funny and it is quite tame, but you must see Elvira, Mistress of the Dark if you haven't, because it's just amazing. Tony enjoys that one as well. We've watched that many times together. It's just fantastic. And
what's the other one?
She's so brilliant. She does have a second one which isn't available on DVD, but we're always trying to get a hold of it because the second one's really good. We even wanted to get it on video but haven't found it yet. I can't remember what it's called, but in that one...
It's got him from Crystal Mason.
Yeah, it's got Richard O'Brien from Crystal Maze in it, and it's really good. So if ever you get the chance to see that, we randomly saw it once when it was on, I think it was the Horror Channel, and oh wow, that was just so funny. But that's not in. Freddy vs Jason, not going to be a popular choice there, but I can't help it. I really love that film. I love the idea of bringing two of my favourite characters together into one movie, so that was really good. Watch me dead bodies on the wall there. Urban Legends. Yes, I'm actually not sure how many I've listed now. Hang on. Right. I've got 2 left, I think. If I've said one too many, sorry. What did I just say? Okay. I also love The Lost Boys. That's one of my early films that I watched. I had the t-shirt, I had the video, I had the soundtrack, had the poster. Absolutely love The Lost Boys. That's one that I still love to watch now. Urban Legend, that's what I said. I love Urban Legend, fantastic film and a fantastic series. I really enjoyed all the sequels as well. And the last one I'll mention is Boo. If you haven't seen it, it's not one that's hyped up too much. It's set in a hospital, but it's actually really good. It's a really good story, and that is kind of keeps you watching for sure. It's really, really good, so definitely check out Boo as well. So those are my 13 favourite horror films. Of course I love so many more because I'm a huge horror fan, and I have quite a collection of horror films that I love to watch. Alec usually spends most of the time like this or like this. He doesn't like horror films. Thank goodness though, Tony loves horror films and she watches them with me, so that's good. At least I've got a horror buddy, because yeah, I just love my horror films and it's great to have somebody to watch them with. But I'm the kind of person who I can turn all the lights off, sit in the dark and watch one and not be fazed by it at all. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the horror movie The Tag, the sequel, and please, if you do this, please let me know in the comments below or send me a message so I can check your video out too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and it's the first one in the 13 Days of Horror. I've got another little video coming up today which is a giveaway, and I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of the series. So please leave your comments below. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'm going to love you and leave you, and keep screaming. Bye.